Okay, hi, Luna here. I did my interview, and that went kind of well, I think. I think I'm more nervous about how the glorified personality test will come out. The algorithms for these things are definitely not perfect and kind of subject. Like, there are ones that don't even use the same algorithms but will use the same questions and will be taken to mean something completely different. Some of the questions are entirely too general. Um, yes, I don't think simply, so I'm not a simple person. I enjoy complex philosophical conversations, and I like books, and art, and dance, and things like that. Um, and I don't know, you never know with a company whether they're just trying to root out introverts or not. Sometimes they are because they're like, oh, well, an extrovert must be better at this job. But it's not actually true because it actually has nothing to do with it. An introvert can be very good at this job and last for years. And an extrovert can be very good at this job and last for years. I've actually seen more extroverts quit jobs like this because they're more concerned with their social lives than anything else. I mean, I have a social life, but it's with people. I don't do like large groups of people, so like I just take care of my smaller social circles. You know, people that are important to me. So and I'm that weird social introvert in that I actually seek social interaction. So like I am, and there's actually a couple different types of that on the 16 personality test. And I test in that weird 1% where they do not know what the fuck to do with me. They're like, you're a social introvert, and that is all we know about you. Oh, and sometimes people like you are good leaders and kind of guarded. And we don't know. That was kind of weird for me because I'd actually used to be on the 16 personality test. I'd before tested as a different kind of social introvert. I have never tested as an extrovert. Not as far as I know. If there was a time, then I don't remember it at this moment. Yeah. I am a social introvert. Yeah. I mean, I actually seek social interaction, and I'm friendly, and I don't just hate people. There's actually a surprising lot of social introverts. But I don't know if these tests even like make allowances for that. I'm not into big groups of people. But, I've worked in a call center before. I know what it is. I know what I'm getting into, and I wouldn't apply for it if I couldn't handle it. I like doing customer service. I don't like sales and anything that even remotely reminds me of anything that is usually followed up with, oh, these positions are filled, sales. Makes me incredibly nervous. um, I did not know how to answer the question of what programs I know, simply because I've listed the relevant ones on my resume for a reason. I actually went and got some certifications in them. Specifically because the age I was, nobody would believe me that I knew how to use all these programs. So I went and got some certifications to applicable programs, common programs that you're expected to use in a job. Because, yeah, of that. I grew up building computers with my grandfather, that we would take old parts to old computers and we would Frankenstein it. And, yeah, some of those parts weren't supposed to go together. This was after companies had already been trying to specialize their parts, and we were building stuff out of it and doing the stuff that now most tech support people say isn't even possible because they just don't know. They just don't know that it is. There's actually an entire community of people that do this. That, still keep up with the latest parts, that, the adapters and stuff. Like, sometimes we had to get adapters. Different kinds, I guess. And we had to find the ones that would work with this, and this, and this, and, that sort of thing. It's actually not that hard. It's more like most people don't even question it. It's like you're told the parts to this can't go with this, but you don't even question it. I was raised to ask how instead of can this. Like, you don't ask, is this possible? You just ask, how? And you'll find the answer. And before my grandfather raised me to do that with computers, because I'm not even going to my grandmother just raised me to apologize for everything and existing, and among other things I've been to therapy for. My grandfather, for his part, just didn't stop her. But there were positives. My mom, she was just awesome. But she also, before she died, she'd raised us to do what we stick together, have our family first. And, yeah. She also, though, was a big proponent of don't ask if it's possible, just ask how. Find how, and you can do anything. There's a lot of things I don't know how to do. But then there's a lot of things I know how to do. Because instead of asking if it was possible, I just accepted the fact that anything was possible. And instead of asking if, I asked how. I don't even know if they're going to hire me, because so many times I'm fairly sure that even the places that are even willing to consider me just phase me out in the personality test portion. A lot of places don't want introverts working for them. They will specifically attach a bunch of stereotypes based on some flawed algorithm, and they will not hire you over it. And then they will end up with a bunch of people who don't show up to work with a high turnover and all this, and then they will wonder why this happens. Well, first of all, you're working with an algorithm that sucks and doesn't even work. You're trying to control the type of people that you hire, but there's only so far that you can do that. Why not ask moral questions? Make sure that you're hiring good people, you know, not, do you question authority? Because everybody should question authority whenever, it's doing something wrong. This is freaking America. Not the military. And even in the military, you can, be held accountable for what you're ordered to do. It was orders is long past being an excuse. The thing is that they can be kicked out both for following orders and for not following orders. So, that also sucks. It's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. So you might as well be damned for doing the right thing rather than the wrong thing. I mean, that's how I see it. If you're gonna be damned if you do, damned if you don't, might as well do the right thing anyway. I mean, why would you put yourself in that situation to have to explain to your family why you got kicked out of the military? Because there's only one of two ways that can go. Either you're going for insubordination for not doing it, or you're going for following orders and them being really shitty orders. It's kind of a situation like that. You might as well do what's right and be able to tell your family that you stood for something, then end up saying, yeah, I was that person. And there's actually a guy that has to say, I was that person who, on orders, stripped that Muslim guy that we were holding captive and humiliated him in front of everybody. Like, that's not acceptable. Not even a little acceptable. There's actually someone there who has to say that to their family. Yeah, that's why. Oh, and not only that, it was on the news that, that he was under orders. Anybody who knows anything about the military knows he was fucked either way. The moment that he was given orders like that, he was just plain fucked. Because his only hope at that point, what he was hoping. Then he would just follow orders and nothing would ever come back on it. Because it just didn't want to get kicked out of the military for not following orders. Your CO holds a lot of power in that situation, and if it never comes back on them, who are they going to believe? And so there's a lot of pressure to follow those orders, even whenever they're bad orders. Most of my family is military, so I know this stuff. Because I listened. Unlike some of my relatives. Even my little brother didn't listen to this stuff, and he's now in the military. But whenever my grandfather talked, I listened. So, yeah, there's that. Anyway, it can actually get pretty shitty. As far as I'm concerned, though, you should always question bad orders. And this also goes for a job. Somebody tells you to do something, and it's bad juju, you should question it. Absolutely. So yes, I will question authority, but, also I put neutral for that, because some companies won't hire you if they think that you'll question them. And just, well, it depends on what I'm questioning. I may not let you know that I'm questioning you unless it's, really just that important. But yes, I question things. But the question authority thing, that's kind of general and kind of skeevy. because it can mean so many different things. And it can refer to literally anything, like, why do we do this? And, like, you could just be asking, like, a general curiosity question, and that could be considered questioning authority. Like, how far are you meaning this? I don't know. So neutral, because are you talking about, am I going to sit here and question your every action and reaction to everything? No. Maybe. In my head, I'll think about it, but that doesn't mean that I have to be like, yeah, I'm totally just going to bug you for every reasoning that you have. But I will ask why some things are done that way, because I want to understand them. I want to understand where you're coming from. But that's actually pretty normal, I like to think. So, if it needs questioned, I'll question it. But questioning authority makes it sound like you look at this like the same way military does if you don't follow orders. Like it's insubordination, and there are jobs that will fire you for insubordination. They straight up do not care whether it is ethical or not. I have ethical qualms with some things, so I'm familiar with this. If they think that you are a person who will not just blindly follow everything that they tell you to, a lot of jobs won't hire you. I also have had a lot of problem finding places that don't basically list what amounts to discrimination in the job qualifications. And if you are that skeevy, I am not even going to apply. Or I will apply and I will be straight the fuck up front. I cannot lift 50 pounds. That's never going to happen. No. And I don't even know if it would even be safe even with a back brace. Because most of my scoliosis issue is like in my upper part of my spine. You know, the worst of it is up there. So like, I don't even know if it would ever even be like even a little bit safe. So yeah, even if I could lift it, I don't know if it would be safe. How's that for you? And some of these places, like, you talk to people who work there, and I'm like, have you ever had to lift anything? Some of these places have never even had to lift 10 pounds. Like, they never lift anything. But they want you to be able to lift 50 pounds. In order to... That's discrimination. If this is not something that you actually have to do for the job, that's discrimination. To list this as a requirement. Just because you're saying, I don't want you people here. Which is basically what it amounts to. Often your employment around these parts, around Arizona, and a lot of places anymore, relies on a personality test. Can you fit into the cool kids? Basically. And everybody seems to want to hire extroverts. And then they're like, oh my god, it's an introvert, so confusing, so much mystery. Not really. Like, I feel like this is one of those Doge memes. Where Doge is like, oh my god! You know, so much mystery, you know. You know how he goes through, like, broken sentences, so pointed, you know, and states very blunt, unobvious things, and then goes, so much, you know, whatever. That's what I feel like. like this sounds like to me, like, oh my god! So quiet. Murderous? Like, what are you, going to kill me or something? Because there's a saying, like, that floated around for the longest time. It's always the quiet ones. One of my emails actually uses this. Always the quiet ones. Except that's used in a more, like, fun context. Like, I'm actually usually very quiet whenever I'm not, you know, on the phones and stuff. or doing this. And it's not because like there's nothing floating around in my head. It's actually because there's more floating around in my head than I could ever possibly say. And I just don't. I gave up trying to. I'm not gonna pretend like there wasn't a time in my life that I didn't try. I mean, you don't always start off as an introvert. You just. I didn't. Some people do. And then there's like people like my little brother. I'm not sure what he is. Pretty sure I could crack a joke about an alien baby or something. At this point. Because my little brother is either a classic introvert or a classic extrovert. I'm gonna go with extrovert. He likes parties and people, and he's an alien baby. I've never been a party girl. Ever. Not even once. The wildest thing I've ever done, there were only 3 people there to see it. And I trusted those people enough to stop me from drinking anymore after that. And it wasn't even that wild. Like, I could say it, like, right off the bat, and it would sound wild. But then I would, like, explain the rest of it, and you would be like, oh, that's actually not that bad. It's not even bad. Like, you know, I'll talk to, like, people that I know who are extroverts, and they'll be like, yeah, I had so drunk once, I took off my shirt in, like, the club, and I was like, clubbing, never done it, never want to do it. And I'll just be like, once, when I was 21 years old, I was in a room with 3 people, and I'd had, like, 3 wine coolers and was an absolute lightweight. And I had one of those big, heavy, thick TVs that you can actually sit on, and I sat on it. And I took off my shirt and waved it around my head. But then it wasn't that bad because there was only 3 people. Carl told Anthony, don't you look at my sister like that? It's creepy. And she's drunk. And no. And Tatum was just like, woohoo! Oh, no, wait, there were 4 people in the room. Yeah, her boyfriend was there. No, wait, no, he wasn't. No. And she was like, I should do it too. Carl's like, I'll tell your boyfriend. Oh, no, wait. Anthony was like, I'll tell your boyfriend. And Carl was like, shh, don't tell her that. And I was like, hey, Carl, stop looking at Taken. She's taken. She's taken. Don't stop. And yeah, there I was sitting on top of the, you know, we were basically just, I mean, 2 were sitting on the couch. Carl was sitting on, like, the back of the couch, and I was sitting on top of the TV for some reason. I don't know, I was just really lightweight. I didn't even get a hangover, though. I didn't black out or anything. I've never been blackout drunk. And, like, the bra under my shirt was basically another shirt. So, like, it covered more than some people's shirts. So, yeah. It wasn't even that bad. It wasn't even like you could see anything. At my size boobs, unless you, like, pay out the ass at Victoria's Secret, and you have to, like, I guess go to a big store for that, I've never seen anything of my size in a Victoria's Secret store. So, boobs my size don't get support. They get a shirt that basically amounts to something to hold your boobs so that they don't fly up and hit your face. It's like an undershirt that just is a capture net for your boobs. So, yeah. It was kind of like wearing a sports shirt. So like it wasn't even what anybody pictures. And yeah, I was actually with people that I was okay with. I would have never done that um, if there were any minors around in the house, or there had been anyone that I didn't trust, even drunk. Like, it was just one of those things, like, there were like three people besides myself in the room. I mean, there were a couple times we got drunk together, a few, but mostly it was just getting buzzed and shooting the breeze. Like, we discussed the most random topics. You can actually get surprisingly deep whenever you're drunk. It just, I don't know, makes it less uncomfortable. Some topics can get uncomfortable. Some of that stuff I could discuss not drunk, but then others it is probably better drunk. Or at least buzzed. But yeah, I used to do that with a couple friends. Carl and Tatum are both dead, and Anthony could not handle the whole not gonna happen thing. Yeah. Tatum died of basically diabetes, but also it's more complicated than that. And Carl died of being shot while walking out with his dad. We went for a walk up in Tonopah and somebody pulled a gun on him. He disarmed him. And the other guy's dad unloaded a clip into him. Carl is actually in some of my older videos. Carl was more extroverted than I was. Even on mine, there's probably a million things I'm thinking and not saying. Even doing this, like, it's impossible for me to even begin to, like, express every thought. I've tried. I really have. It's not possible. I've tried, if only so that my kids will know me. Or if it can at least help them know the answers to any questions that they may come up with. but it's not possible to put down every thought. To say every word. But I'll keep trying. Because if I can't bring them home, I can at least give them something to find. So that they can answer the questions I never really had the answers to. Some we never do. Or the answers are wholly things that aren't good answers. Like, why did this happen? How could they get away with this? There aren't good answers to that. The answers amount to greed and money, among other things, bigotry, discrimination. They amount to things that don't really amount to reasons. They amount to excuses, different things, so there are some questions I will never have the answers to. I want to give them as many answers as I can. But some questions don't have simple answers. And some do. Nobody ever understood me whenever I asked questions about my dad or my mom. And the truth of the matter is, everything I give my children, even if they may never even get it, it's I wondered these things about my own parents. My mom died whenever I was 8. And she had the answers that I'd need about my dad. He died whenever I was 3. I don't get those answers. Maybe one day they'll be able to find me, maybe one day they won't. But I want the answers to be there for them to find either way. Because it hurts not to have them. It hurts not to live without your parents. But it also hurts not to have those answers. And I can't magic the system to be fixed, to care about injustices or the fact that what happened to us was essentially illegal, because the reasoning behind it made it illegal. I can't make anybody care about that, or care about enforcing the law or doing something about it after the fact. I've tried. I can't make people care about this. But I can make sure that there's something out there for them. So that's what I do. What? Okay. I guess it's time to go adults, I guess. Hiding behind me, dear? He doesn't like being on camera. I mean, he doesn't like pictures, but he doesn't like to be, like, seen a bunch in the posts that I make.